Today, we're driving the coastline to break down 10 cities where home prices are dropping fast, really fast. And honestly, the panic in some of these once dreamy coastal spots is almost hard to look away from, unless you're the one stuck with the mortgage. Just wait for the stories ahead, like a California tech hub where luxury condos are being practically given away to avoid foreclosure, or a Pacific Northwest city where sellers are taking huge six-figure losses just to leave. Picture yourself on Highway 1 with ocean air in your face, passing house after house with price-reduced signs popping up everywhere. If you've got cash ready, it might look like a great buyer's opportunity. But for people who bought at the peak, it's turned into a serious financial crash. That dream of West Coast living is now colliding with reality. Rising insurance, heavy taxes, and more middle-class families moving out. Coming in at number 10, San Diego. As you roll into what's often called America's finest city, you'd expect nonstop sunshine and flawless waves. But right now, the real wipeout isn't happening in the ocean. It's hitting the housing market hard. Those picture-perfect beaches might look the same as ever, but they can't distract from the reality that buyers have basically disappeared from this overpriced coastal paradise. Try to imagine saving up for a down payment while your rent is swallowing nearly 60% of your monthly income. That's the harsh situation many locals are dealing with right now. Even so, home prices are finally starting to crack under the pressure. According to the California Association of Realtors, the median home price in the area has dropped by about $85,000 since last spring alone. Turns out, all that sunshine doesn't help much when mortgage rates stay stubbornly high. As you pass through neighborhoods like North Park or Point Loma, you'll start noticing something unusual. Open house signs sitting out for days, sometimes weeks, with no takers. Data from Redfin shows that active listings in this coastal market have jumped by a massive 42% compared to just 1 year ago. At this point, it's not subtle. Sellers are clearly feeling the pressure. You can almost sense the urgency when Realtor.com reports that the average home is now lingering on the market for 55 long days, which feels like forever when you're stuck covering those expensive carrying costs. And to make things even more uncomfortable, the balance of power has completely shifted. Think about a seller who once believed their modest bungalow was worth a fortune, now having to cover closing costs just to get a deal done. Figures from the National Association of Realtors reveal that a staggering 65% of completed sales now include major concessions from sellers. If that wasn't enough, a recent report from Trulia shows that 38% of listings have already reduced their asking price at least once. It's hard not to feel a little sympathy for those who bought at the peak, convinced the boom would never end. Still, watching this market slowly deflate like a punctured beach ball is a clear reminder that even perfect weather can't prop up a housing bubble forever. At number 9, we arrive in Portland. As we head north into the misty Pacific Northwest, we roll into a city that once built its identity around staying proudly unconventional. These days, though, the strangest thing about Portland isn't its culture. It's how quickly home values are dropping. What used to feel like a hipster haven filled with craft breweries and artisan donut spots is now facing a tough reality, and homeowners are paying the price. Picture opening your annual property tax bill while, at the same time, noticing more encampments appearing along your street. That helps explain why the United States Census Bureau reports that Multnomah County lost more than 12,000 residents in just the past year. People are packing up their vinyl collections and leaving, some heading to the suburbs, others crossing state lines altogether, in search of relief from the constant tax burden. As a result of this steady outflow, local real estate data shows that housing inventory has surged by an eye-opening 52% compared to last year. Driving through once highly desirable areas like the Pearl District, you can't ignore the empty storefronts, which reflect the same downturn seen in the housing market. According to Zillow, downtown condo prices have plunged by about 25% from their peak, leaving many recent buyers stuck owing more than their properties are worth. It's tough to watch people who believed in the city's comeback now trapped in negative equity, trying to offload homes that buyers won't even consider. Looking at broader metro data from Redfin, the median price for a single-family home has dropped by roughly $95,000 in just a year and a half. Sellers are clearly under pressure, and it's not hard to see why. Recent figures from Realtor.com show that 58% of listings in the city have already cut their asking price. At this point, Some homeowners are practically pleading with buyers to take these properties off their hands. The situation has become so strained that the Oregon Association of Realtors reports sellers are even offering to buy down mortgage rates for complete strangers just to finalize a sale. For a city that once attracted waves of millennials chasing opportunity, it's a harsh shift, now feeling more like a discount market for bold investors willing to take the risk. At number 8, we stop in Tacoma. Continuing our gray and moody drive up Interstate 5, we arrive in a rugged port city that, for years, served as the more affordable fallback for people priced out of Seattle. Now that tech money has slowed down and remote work is reshaping where people live, this once reliable alternative is getting hit hard in the housing market. Imagine enduring a daily commute of over an hour in heavy traffic, only to discover that the home you stretched to buy is dropping in value faster than you expected. Data from the Northwest Multiple Listing Service shows that the median home price here has fallen by around 11% over the past year. The reality is, once major tech companies to the north started cutting jobs, that overflow demand completely vanished, leaving this working-class city stuck with the consequences. As you pass through the historic neighborhoods in the North End, there's a noticeable sense that the market has stalled out. Researchers at Redfin report that pending home sales have dropped by a staggering 32% compared to typical levels. Right now, it feels like everyone is trying to sell, while hardly anyone is willing to buy. It's hard not to feel for the families who moved here after being priced out elsewhere, only to watch the value of their homes slip away. The situation becomes even clearer when you look at how long properties are sitting unsold. According to Zillow, homes are now lingering on the market for an average of 65 days before finally attracting a buyer. With that kind of slowdown, it's no surprise the market feels stuck. Figures from Realtor.com show that about 47% of active listings have already cut their prices, signaling that sellers are starting to give in. And just to make things worse, Adam Data Solutions reports a 22% increase in foreclosure starts over the past year. Many homeowners are reaching a breaking point, choosing to walk away when they realize they owe far more than their property is worth, leaving this port city weighed down by excess inventory and fading suburban ambitions. At number 7, we arrive in San Jose. We turn the car back south and head straight into the core of Silicon Valley, a place that once felt fueled by endless venture capital and sky-high brunch prices. But right now, this global tech hub is dealing with a brutal housing market hangover, and homeowners are paying dearly for it. Picture tying your entire financial future to stock options from your tech job, only to watch the bubble burst and drag your home's value down along with it. According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, nearly 50,000 well-paying tech jobs have disappeared from the area over the past 2 years. With those high incomes evaporating, the housing market couldn't sustain itself and started to collapse under its own weight. Data from the California Association of Realtors shows that the median home price has plunged by an eye-watering $215,000 since the peak. Driving through neighborhoods like Willow Glen or Almaden Valley, you'll spot large suburban homes that once sparked intense bidding wars now sitting quietly with little to no interest. Figures from Redfin highlight just how bad things have gotten, with luxury home sales dropping 42% compared to last year. Even wealthy buyers seem to be holding back, unwilling to jump into a falling market. It's almost surreal seeing sellers still trying to get top dollar, listing outdated 3-bedroom homes for $2 million in a market that's clearly cooled off. The inventory of these high-priced properties has gotten completely out of hand. According to Realtor.com, the number of homes listed above $2 million has doubled over the past year. At this point, it's a classic case of too much supply and not nearly enough demand. Sellers are feeling the pressure and are starting to lose any negotiating power they once had. Recent data from Zillow shows that 71% of homes are now selling for less than their original asking price. The era of skipping inspections and offering well above asking just to secure a basic home is over. What was once a booming gold rush-style market now feels eerily quiet by comparison. At number 6, we make our way into Santa Cruz. We guide the car back toward the Pacific shoreline, arriving in a famous surf town that, over the past few years, seems to have lost much of its easygoing charm. When the pandemic hit, waves of wealthy tech workers from over the hill poured into this coastal spot, turning it into a personal retreat and pushing housing prices to extreme levels. Now that major tech companies are calling employees back to the office, that inflated housing bubble is starting to collapse. and it's doing so fast. Think about longtime locals, surfers, teachers, everyday residents, who suddenly found themselves priced out of their own community by remote workers chasing ocean views for Zoom calls. According to the United States Census Bureau, the county has lost around 8,000 of those remote workers in just the last 18 months. As many of those high earners pack up their electric cars and head back toward Silicon Valley, demand for housing in the area has dropped off sharply. The California Association of Realtors reports that the median price for single-family homes has fallen by about $110,000 since the peak of the market. Driving along West Cliff Drive, it's hard not to notice the growing number of for sale signs lining the streets near Ocean Mist. Recent figures from Redfin show that housing inventory has surged by 48% compared to a year ago. Many of those high-end homeowners are now scrambling to sell their beach properties, but the pool of interested buyers has largely disappeared. There's a certain irony in watching the same wave of buyers that once drove prices up now struggling to find anyone willing to take these homes off their hands. You can practically feel the urgency in the market right now. Analysts at Zillow note that homes are sitting unsold for an average of 62 days, which feels especially long when property taxes are that high. With so little demand, sellers are starting to lose confidence. Data from Realtor.com shows that 55% of listings have already reduced their prices at least once. This iconic beach town is finally facing a reality check, showing that a housing market built heavily on remote work trends and premium ocean views can't hold up forever. At number 5, we head into Seattle. We make our way back up the rain-soaked coastline to a city known for its coffee culture and grunge roots. But lately, it's the collapsing housing market that's getting all the attention. The so-called Emerald City isn't looking so vibrant these days. A mix of widespread tech layoffs, rising crime concerns, and punishing mortgage rates has created a situation where buying a home feels more like a financial gamble than a smart move. Picture paying top dollar for a modern downtown condo, only to step outside each morning into an environment that feels far less appealing than you expected. According to the United States Census Bureau, around 30,000 frustrated residents have recently left the city, looking for a better quality of life elsewhere. With fewer people wanting to live in the urban core, the Northwest Multiple Listing Service reports that downtown condo prices have dropped by roughly 15% this year alone. As you drive through traditionally high-demand neighborhoods like Capitol Hill and Queen Anne, the sheer number of homes on the market is hard to ignore. Data from Redfin shows that housing inventory has climbed to its highest level in over 5 years. Sellers are eager to offload their properties, but buyers just aren't showing up in the same numbers. It's a tough situation for longtime residents watching both their neighborhoods and their home values decline at the same time. Meanwhile, the rental market is adding even more pressure. Figures from Apartment List indicate that rents have fallen by about 8%, making it far more attractive to rent than to commit to a high-interest mortgage. That imbalance is making things even harder for sellers trying to compete. The impact becomes crystal clear when you look at recent sales data. An analysis by Zillow found that 35% of homes sold last month went for less than what the owners originally paid. In many cases, sellers are accepting significant six-figure losses just to move on. When people are essentially paying out of pocket just to leave, it's a strong sign that the local housing market is under serious strain. At number 4, we roll into Los Angeles. As you cruise along Sunset Boulevard, the palm trees are still swaying like nothing's changed. But underneath that postcard image, the city's economy is struggling in a big way. The aftershocks from recent Hollywood labor strikes, paired with extremely high local taxes, have taken a serious toll on the housing market. What was once a dream destination for building wealth through real estate is starting to feel more like a financial trap. Imagine finally buying your dream home in the hills, only to have a new mansion tax rollout that instantly cuts into your property's resale value. According to Redfin, ever since that high-end transfer tax was introduced, luxury home sales have collapsed by an astonishing 70%. Many wealthy buyers didn't stick around. They relocated to places like Nevada, pulling a huge amount of money out of the local market. But it's not just celebrities and billionaires feeling the impact. The California Association of Realtors reports that total home sales across the county have dropped by about 35%, which means the market has slowed to a crawl. Driving through areas like the San Fernando Valley, you can sense the tension. Homes sitting unsold and uncertainty hanging in the air. Data from Zillow shows that the median home price across the region has fallen by roughly $120,000 in just 18 months. It's especially tough for small, independent investors who were counting on these properties as part of their retirement plans. Recent figures from the Los Angeles County Superior Court reveal that eviction filings have jumped by 50%, leaving many landlords stuck paying mortgages without rental income to cover the costs. That kind of pressure is pushing owners to sell, often at a loss, into a market that already has very little demand. The level of gridlock right now is hard to ignore. According to Realtor.com, 51% of listings have been sitting on the market for more than 60 days without selling. At this point, prices, taxes, and overall costs have climbed so high that even perfect weather isn't enough to draw buyers in. Instead of a glamorous Hollywood-style ending, this housing cycle is starting to look more like a full-blown disaster story. At number 3, we arrive in Long Beach. Continuing along the sunlit Southern California coastline, we pull into a busy port city that was once considered the last relatively affordable place to own a home near the ocean in the greater Los Angeles area. For years, this blue-collar coastal community gave people a chance to enjoy seaside living without paying the sky-high prices found closer to Hollywood. But today, that stability is slipping away as the city struggles under slowing economic growth and sharply rising borrowing costs. Imagine putting in long shifts at the docks to afford a simple home by the water, only to watch your neighborhood gradually lose its economic energy as the global shipping boom fades. According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, the regional port economy has lost around 15,000 well-paying jobs over the past 2 years. When a city's main industry starts to weaken, the housing market usually feels the impact almost immediately. The California Association of Realtors reports that the median home price here has dropped by about $95,000 since last spring. Driving past waterfront high-rises and classic craftsman homes, it's easy to see that activity in the market has slowed dramatically. Researchers at Redfin note that pending home sales have fallen by 38% compared to normal levels. Right now, buyers seem hesitant, either lacking confidence or the financial means to jump in. It's a difficult situation for many working families who once saw homeownership as a path to long-term financial security. Meanwhile, large institutional investors that bought up properties during the pandemic are now trying to exit the market. Data from Atom Data Solutions shows that purchases by these investors have dropped by 60% over the past year. With that major source of demand gone, individual sellers are left competing in a much weaker market. Figures from Zillow reveal that 65% of recent home sales closed below the original asking price. Many sellers are accepting significant losses just to move on before conditions potentially worsen. All of this has turned what was once a dependable coastal market into a much more uncertain environment for homeowners. At number 2, we enter Oakland. We cross over the Bay Bridge into a city that has been making national headlines lately, and not for anything positive. In recent years, local leadership has struggled to maintain control of everyday conditions, while major retail chains have steadily pulled out, prioritizing their own safety and stability. At the same time, the housing market has taken a severe hit, sliding into what many would describe as a rapid and unsettling decline. Imagine investing heavily in a historic craftsman home, only to watch essential businesses like grocery stores and pharmacies shut down and board up across your neighborhood. According to the United States Census Bureau, more than 20,000 residents left the city in just the past year, many relocating in response to worsening conditions. When even fast food restaurants start closing because they can't ensure employee safety, it becomes clear how much pressure local property values are under. The residential real estate market reflects that strain very clearly. Data from the California Association of Realtors shows that the median home price in the city has dropped by around 20% over the past 2 years. Homeowners who spent years building equity are now seeing those gains evaporate, which has been especially difficult for working-class families who depend on that wealth. As you move through neighborhoods like Rockridge and Montclair, the urgency among sellers becomes hard to miss. Research from Redfin indicates that housing inventory has surged by about 80% compared to last year. The message from the market is blunt. Many people are trying to leave, while very few are stepping in. On the commercial side, conditions are just as strained, with reports from Colliers showing downtown vacancy rates around 30%, which discourages new professionals from moving in. With the buyer pool shrinking, sellers are often forced to accept steep losses. Recent figures from Zillow show that roughly 40% of closed home sales are going through below the original asking price. What was once seen as a slightly edgier alternative to San Francisco has now shifted into a high-risk housing market where preserving equity has become increasingly difficult. At number 1, we reach San Francisco. This is the final stop on the journey as we roll into the fog-covered hills of the city by the bay, once seen as the unquestioned leader of global real estate. Today, though, it has become the clearest example of what many are calling an urban doom loop, with a housing downturn in 2026 that's hard to fully grasp without looking at the numbers. Imagine paying around $2 million for a small two-bedroom condo, only to watch the surrounding city deteriorate while your property value drops by roughly a third. According to the Compass, downtown condo prices have fallen by about 30% from their peak, wiping out enormous amounts of homeowner equity. A major driver behind this decline is the collapse of the commercial core. The CBRE Group reports that office vacancy rates have climbed to around 36%, and with far fewer tech workers commuting into downtown towers, surrounding residential demand has weakened sharply. Driving through steep, iconic neighborhoods like Pacific Heights and Russian Hill, the number of empty or struggling properties is striking. The United States Census Bureau confirms that the city has lost over 50,000 residents since the pandemic began, taking a huge chunk of high-income earners with it. As that wealth has moved elsewhere, Redfin data shows that median single-family home prices have dropped by more than $300,000. For longtime residents who always believed the city would rebound, it has been a painful shift to realize the old growth cycle isn't playing out the same way anymore. At the top end of the market, the pressure is even more obvious. Zillow reports that luxury housing inventory has surged by around 120%, leaving high-end sellers aggressively cutting prices week after week just to attract interest. What was once a city known for creating millionaires almost overnight is now, ironically, putting serious strain on many of its property owners. Taken together, it paints a picture of a market that has moved from boomtown energy to deep instability, driven by shifting economics, high costs, and major structural change. It's difficult watching longtime communities and families get caught in that transition, as financial pressures reshape what life in the city looks like. And with that, the tour wraps up. Thanks for riding along, and stay safe out there in a rapidly changing market.